Heroes and Legends, Generation 4, The Holy War. The fighting begins. Battle erupts across the dimensions as the four kingdoms of Arisian, the Holy Empire, the Manichaean, and the Builderan Empire engage in various wars. Such wars stand of the long awaited battle between the Albina and Thompson Kichuru forces. There, General Moore was there along with Jerome Nassau. As the two Albino forces, Neo and Main Albino, have joined to form as one to beat back the Thompson forces. They send their troops to the march for east and west. The Thompson forces were being led by newcomers, that being Butter was a man, a Kichuru, that loved to fight, and Yem, the young 19-year-old that claims when she was younger that she was assaulted and abused by an albino soldier, and that's the reason why she fled and joined the Thompson and grew up to be a fine warrior to fight against them. She was the commander. The main Thompson unit was nowhere to be seen in this battle, but the general, Maul, did not care, for a victory would be a victory. As troops went east and west, ambush troops ambushed them, and so more forces had to be called up to the front and to the center. Jerome Nassau was one of these that went up forward. As they continued to advance, they dealt with heavy casualties as more ambushes and even artillery fire began to occur. Troops from the center that were separated from the enemy main camp were commanded by Yem to charge down to Maul location. They were losing troops and officers, and the enemy was closing in on General Maul's location. However, General Maul remained calm, but they had a plan. Suddenly, giant Carboni flew all over the battlefield, landed and started attacking and slaying and destroying Thompson forces. And riding on top of the biggest one was Arrow Albino, the crown prince and the fifth generation of Albino. He jumped off the Carboni and fought Butter with his new blue ward sword, for the Albino recently got back from the Emperor. He used his sword to beat back Butter and then moved forward to slay some of the Kichuru under the Thompson. And seeing that the Carboni were attacking from the skies, which allowed the advancing forces of Albino to push through and pass the Thompson ambush units. Seeing this, Errol then went to Yem and faced her. Yem tried her best to avenge herself by killing the Albino leader, but Errol's defense was strong and could not be broken, so Yem and the troops that remained were forced to retreat. After the battle, Errol could be seen shaking off blood from his sword. He vowed that one day that he dreamed that he will no longer have to slay fellow Kichuru, but all of Kichuru would be under Albino once more. And General Maul walked up behind him and bowed and agreed with his master. Elsewhere, an Orisian scientist named Levon Shinzen was the head of all science of Orisia. He is making his debut with his giant robots, weapons of mass destruction, filled with missiles, shields, chainsaws, and more. They attacked an advancing elder position that was caught off guard by the sudden attack by robots. Laverne showed off his powerful robot and blew up, sliced up, and destroyed most of the elder advancing force. Then he told his robot to stand down as he got a little bored and went in his jetpack, flying towards the leadership of the elder unit, defeating them and slaying them. He was a very tall, giant scientist. And despite being despicable and smart, he was also brave and very strong. After this, he net his mark on the elders and continued his attack, using his mighty robots to attack the elders some more. In another place, the American forces fought off the Builderon. This time, they were being led by the Johnson Insurance, led by Zakia Johnson and her eccentric son of Sekinder, Radon Johnson, who fought with a giant metal whip. He blasted his way through the Batalacon large army, but Sekinder had a plan. As Radon moved forward to the east, the Batalacon forces were more closer to the west to the main camp, and so she waited until her ambush units could arrive and ambush the advancing forces. Then Radon had already secured the east, and then she told her son to go into a rampage, which he did. The Telecon advance unit stood no chance, and at the end of the battle, there were no survivors. The Johnson and Sherman won a clear and solid victory, and proved their mettle as a strong universal power. Elsewhere, back dealing with the robots of Laverne, he, along with the Toya officer, commanded a force to attack a great and mighty wall. This wall was in Temple's Kolosko territory, and King Christian and his elite guard guarded this wall. This wall was vital, as it was the border between Elder and Orician lands. If this wall were to be breached, the Oricians would have easy access to the Holy Lands, and that would not be a good thing. One of King Christian's guards asked His Majesty if they should call the reinforcements to deal with those advanced robots, as they only had basic swords, shields, and horses, and did not have any technological advanced weapons on their side. King Christian then told his men to stand strong and firm. An opportunity will present itself, for they have the Almighty God on their side and will bless them with victory. As time went on, Toyo's soldiers were being propelled up the wall by the robots as they thrown them over the wall. Battle erupted on top of the wall. King Christian used his mighty swordplay and his elder abilities to beat back these troops and a few officers that appeared. Unknowingly to Laverne, however, the main battery pack, the control unit that controlled all of the robots that were there at the time, propelled itself on top of the wall. King Christian realized this, and if that battery pack droid could be defeated, then all of the machines would be rendered useless, and the battle would be turned into their favor. So he raced past the troops that were on the walls to beat this battery pack that was filled with missiles and cannons. He rolled and dodged these missiles with great skills as he was training for many years for this fight. And then he displayed his mettle and defeated the battery pack. Then all of the robots of Laverne was consequently deactivated. King Christian then saw this opportunity and told his men to ride on their horses and charge directly to the enemy, destroying the robots before they could be reactivated. I went straight for the toy officer and Laverne. Laverne used his. So they raced, and King Christian confronted Laverne, who used his jetpack to lift Christian and slam into the walls. Christian then kicked his way free and began to use his swordplay to beat back the scientist. He used his elder abilities as well to beat back and destroy the shields that the scientist was using. Laverne could not understand the righteousness and the power of the elders possessed, which trumped his technology. Then Laverne tried to slam him again, using his jetpack, but Christian then dodged and did another elder attack, a holy matrimony attack, and beaten the scientist. Embarrassed, confused, and ashamed, that his robots and his advanced weaponry were destroyed by medieval warriors. Him and the Toyo retreated, and the battle was won, and the wall was never breached. Elsewhere, not to be outdone by her husband, Queen Shirley led a combined elder forces, the Page Seafal G.C. Volt of the Guardian, Ken, the leader of the Fidels, Calvin, the Risi Bob, Risi, the Risi Baja Bankaran, and their forces fought off against the American combined forces of the Deputy Prime Minister of the Metallurgy Nation, Blake Hazani of the Yani country, Sonny Briggs of the Central Bank Run, and Chantal Wilson of the Insurance Commission. The battle was fierce, and both Ken and Page were guarding the north, east, and west from encroaching enemies to protect the queen, as she was in the middle of prayer and fasting. Her prayer and fasting was not up yet, and so she needed time to gain stronger and for prayer and fasting time to officially end to be a powerhouse onto the battlefield. But the Allies had to hold their ground. Calvin used his forces and strength to hold back this enemy. However, the enemies, Hansing, Sandy Briggs, and Chantal Wilson, attacked from the northeast, northwest, and Sandy Briggs took to the south, which was unguarded, only guarded by a large gate. Enemy troops bombarded this gate to get to Queen Shirley before her prayer and fasting could be completed. That way they could capture her and win the battle. However, the, the allied forces of the elders held out, and the prayer and fasting time was over. Queen Shirley busted through the gates like a mighty freight train and blown away past the enemy, defeating Sandy Briggs almost instantly, defeating troops, and racing around the battlefield to help Page fight off Chantal Wilson and helped also uh, Volt, GC Volt, who was in trouble by enemy troops. And then she raced to defeat Hansen and helped Calvin march on forward. And then, like instantly, she single handedly led her forces to victory and even forced the Deputy Prime Minister, Blake, to retreat. It was a glorious victory for the forces of the elders. And with that, the Vatican forces, first time facing the elders, but now starting to regret the decision and not joining them in the first place.